Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Winners Ways podcast. This is where we talk about your career, your money, and we give you life motivation that will help you to succeed. Today, we have an awesome guest with us, James Mackey, who is the CEO of SecureVision. This guy specializes in helping organizations find talent. So for those of you out there that you are looking to get your next job, you are going to find this episode useful. So without keeping you waiting, I'm going to bring in my guest. Hey, James, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. So James, thank you for joining us today. If you don't mind, can you let us know what you do, who you are, and how my audience will benefit from listening to you today?
Sure. So my name is James Mackey. I'm the founder CEO of SecureVision. We are a recruitment company that basically tech companies borrow recruiters from us. So we help on large scale projects where companies need to hire hundreds of people, and also smaller scale projects in which a company may need to hire a handful of people. And we primarily do this for tech companies, primarily startups and growth stage organizations. About 40% of what we do is revenue focused. So sales, marketing, customer success, sales engineering, sales ops, really anything that falls within a chief marketing officer or chief revenue officer org chart. 40% of what we do is engineering. So it could be, or tech rather. So engineering, product, really anything in between. And then 20% is everything else, primarily G&A, but other positions that don't fall within tech and revenue. I've been doing this for 7 years. We've worked with over 150 organizations at this point in time. And we currently have around 35-ish full-time employees at SecureVision, and we're scaling rapidly. So we've helped a ton of people get jobs. We've worked with a ton of organizations. So really anything in terms of recruiting, talent acquisition, looking for your next role is something that, my background is in, and something that I hopefully can add value to the audience today.
That's awesome. So I know you've been doing this for, you said 7 years plus. Do you only help clients in the US, or you help people all over the world?
So primarily US. However, we have a lot of international clients. So probably about 35 clients of ours are internationally headquartered, many of which we are helping establish go-to-market revenue teams in the US. However, we have worked on several global staffing projects, primarily EMEA, but we've also done LATAM, and we've worked on a few global projects as well in other regions.
I see that your clients includes WeWork, GrubHub, Smartsheet, Campaign Monitor. These are tech-oriented companies. Do you work with maybe other sector, maybe retail, or other industrial kind of organizations?
We do have some clients outside of tech. We work with some services customers. We work with one huge enterprise company in the life sciences space. So we do have experience outside of tech. But for instance, if we were to work with a company affiliated with retail, it'd probably be e-commerce, right? We have customers that are doing some innovative things on related to these other industries. So we work with companies that are spanning across most industries, but generally speaking, it's product companies for these industries, right?
Right. So, I want to understand your process. So let's say I'm out there looking for a job. Do I reach out to you, or you guys, go over the internet, maybe LinkedIn, Indeed, and you'll be sifting through people's resume, looking for appropriate talent, and you will match the talent with what organizations are looking for? Can you maybe explain the process to us?
Sure. So a client will say, okay, we have to hire for an engineering position or whatever it could be, right? And from there, we will understand the role requirements and start doing our outreach. The vast majority of the hires that we help our clients make are through outbound sourcing efforts on LinkedIn. So we're sending messages to people through LinkedIn. We're evaluating their profiles and determining the relevancy to the job description and our conversations with the hiring managers at our clients, and we're doing outreach. So we do post jobs. We post the job descriptions on different sites, but right now, and for, at least in our space, what we're seeing for startups and growth stage companies spanning across several industries, LinkedIn outbound messaging is the most effective way for companies to hire talent at scale currently.
No, I do agree with that. LinkedIn is a powerful platform that's every job seekers, they should be on LinkedIn. If you are not there, then you are not maximizing your chances for securing your next job. So now, talking about LinkedIn, and I know there are several people that have opinion or two about how to, position yourself so that recruiters like you, they can find people. So I'm going to ask you, what are those things that maybe a job seeker should know about LinkedIn, and how can they effectively use LinkedIn so that they can attract hiring managers, recruiters, so that they can get a call?
Sure. So I think even, before you even start to get into optimizing LinkedIn, we have to think about just like general philosophy toward, what's going to help people be successful in their careers. And the reality is that the power of your network is what's going to determine the types of opportunities that become available to you. So you always, in my opinion, regardless if you're an extrovert or an introvert, or, whether you like it or you don't, or whether you feel like you're a natural at it or you're not, you really have to invest in establishing relationships. And you have to, it's something that you should always be doing at every phase in your career. And there's different incentives and motivations at different phases in your career, right? Like when you're younger, it might be to open doors. When you're older, it could be to give back. But either way, it's like you should always be investing in networking, meeting people, just building relationships, finding ways to help people and contribute to a community. Much like what you're doing with this show. People need to, now I'm not saying that everybody needs to start a show necessarily, but it just, you got to put yourself out there and you got to meet people and get involved, right? And find a way to contribute. And so LinkedIn is an amazing way to do that and essentially kind of scale yourself. You can't necessarily scale like close relationships, like that requires putting in work and putting in the time. But LinkedIn is a place where you can go, you can connect with people, and you can show up as your best self, every day by optimizing your profile and, if you feel up to it, producing content, right? Writing posts. And I think that that's really valuable. A lot of people don't do it. A lot of people don't feel comfortable doing it. They feel kind of, I don't know if it's like imposter syndrome or what, but even if you don't feel like you're a natural at it, that's okay. In fact, typically when things don't feel comfortable, that means that you're growing and you're doing exactly what you should be doing, right? Because you're out of your comfort zone and you're expanding and learning. So it's okay to not feel comfortable. It's worth doing anyway. And I think people should, they should be on LinkedIn. They should optimize their profile. They should be posting content. You don't have to be an expert. You can talk about your journey. You can talk about what you're passionate about. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be, 20 years of experience, top of your field, in order to write content that's going to resonate with people. And so just being willing to be like a little bit vulnerable and kind of put yourself out there can really go a long way towards strengthening your career trajectory and ensuring that you always have options. When it comes to job seeking, it's, you want to always be focused on building these relationships. You don't want to wait until an event like COVID happens, right? Where the market just kind of tanks. And then you're like, oh, right? Like I have to go look for jobs now when everybody else is, and I haven't been investing in, my personal brand and my relationships and these types of things. So really the best piece of advice I would just say is just networking, getting out there, meeting people, putting yourself out there, trying to develop some content, connecting with people on LinkedIn, and just making that a regular motion. And we can get into the tactics of how to do that. But I just think that that's, if and it's, look, not everybody's career focused, and that's okay. This maybe isn't for everybody, but if people are looking to take their career to the next level, proximity is power, right? Sure. You have to get in the right circles. And it's like, people say it's not what you know, it's who you know. And of course it is what you know too, but that just shouldn't, something like that. That's not like a limiting belief. If you don't know the right people, it's not that you can't be successful. It just means you have to get to know the right people. You have to find out how to get in certain circles and how to get involved in certain communities where there's going to be people that, are basically like similar to who you want to become professionally, and surround yourself by those types of professionals. Right.
Right. So no, that I like how you put it, optimizing your LinkedIn page. And you just spoke about the strategy, and the next step will be the tactics. But before we go into the tactics, you said posting content. I'm an engineer by background. When you say posting content, are you saying maybe I should be posting like technical content, or is it posting, sharing news, or sharing information about my company? I love writing about leadership. I love writing about career. Is it that type of content, or what content are you referring to, James?
I think people should write about whatever they're passionate about. Like maybe you're an engineer, but maybe you don't really, if you don't want to write technical content, then don't, right? If you like talking about leadership or philosophy, that's what somebody should write about. Either way, it's like you're contributing something of value to a community. I think it's important to develop a personal brand. The brand doesn't necessarily have to be tied to what you do. I mean, it depends on what you want to get out of it, right? If you want to be known as a thought leader within your industry, then obviously like content relevant to your industry is going to be important. But, even if somebody just like is literally just wants to get their name out there, build a personal brand, they can talk about whatever they want to. They could talk about a family vacation, right? They could talk about challenges that they're having with work, or light bulb moments, or, stuff that their company is doing. I mean, I think it's just, keep it authentic, keep it, stuff that you're interested in. And of course, think about like, what's the outcome that you want to produce. Right. And I think just, again, you got to remember, optimizing your profile, everything is kind of secondary to real relationships.
That's right.
Real conversations, meeting people, finding a way to help and contribute. That is the most important thing. But if you can do that and then couple it with content, for instance, like if you have a conversation with somebody you met, connect with them on LinkedIn, and then they're going to see your posts, right? And you're just going to continue to build that familiarity. And it's something where, as a job seeker, when the time comes where you're looking for doors to open, if you built up a strong network, people are you're a known quantity at that point. Right. And whether, we like it or not, people have biases toward people they know. Right. I mean, that helps open doors. And I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying people will perceive it as less risky to work with individuals that they've interacted with in the past.
No, I agree with that. And I think part of, you said meeting people, communication, relationship. I think part of the strategy here is if you see any content that appeal to you, just going into the post and, adding comments, useful comments, so that people will see that, hey, this guy is active, on LinkedIn. That will be a good addition to what you just said. There's something about LinkedIn, and I think many people are underutilizing this platform. Building one's profile on LinkedIn, maybe writing the About Me section, the picture on your profile, your job summary, all these things are important. But I want to ask from you, because I noticed you have quite a number of followers on your LinkedIn page. What are the essential sections or parts of that people need to focus on while building their LinkedIn page?
I think as long as someone is comfortable with it, I think, maintaining an open profile where people can see your picture. I think that, again, and there's some reasons why people may not feel as comfortable, right? Some people might even feel like if they share too much information, they could be discriminated against, for instance. I mean, there are legitimate reasons why people don't want to share some types of information. And I'm empathetic to that, and I understand. However, if someone is comfortable, generally speaking, I think it's a good idea to put yourself out there to, have a good photo that, the entire LinkedIn community can see. I think it's good to really kind of fill out the profile as much as you can and have it be transparent and searchable. I think it's when you're thinking about what content to put in the About Us section, or About Me section, what content to put in for underneath your role description. I think it's just, again, thinking about the outcome that you want to produce. For instance, if you're a salesperson, maybe you want to put content about the product and solution that you're selling, right? At least partially. You want to have it be your personal brand, but you might also want it to have an element about what your company does. Versus if you're in engineering, maybe it has nothing, it doesn't need to have anything about really your company, but maybe it's projects you've worked on over the past few years, highlighting, some of the experiences that you've had, right? Again, it's what purpose what you want, what kind of introductions, what kind of conversations you want to have, and then finding a way to give people that kind of value or transparency or clarity into whatever it is whatever you want people to know about you, right? Which I know that kind of sounds, or maybe that's a little vague, but it's situational. It's situational based on what somebody wants to accomplish on the platform.
Okay, that's good. Now we've been talking about the job seeking side, and there's the other side. There's the companies that are looking to hire people. When we want to focus on companies that are looking to recruit, what's sort of advice or recommendation do you have for companies that are looking to build that talent pipeline, and not only building the pipeline, also being able to retain their talent? Because right now we know that there is a stiff competition for talent all over the country. People are moving from one company to another. So how can companies ensure that they retain their talent?
Yeah, so this is like maybe an oversimplification, but the best thing that companies can do is just give people what they want. Stop fighting it, right? Don't build employment packages that the CEO wants. Build employment packages that players want, right? I don't, if the CEO wants an office, okay, fine. Well, what do the best fit individuals want, right? The person that can really add value to the company and take it to the next level. If they want remote, give them remote. Like, just don't, if you have the ability to give people stuff they care about, do it, because the best candidates on the market are going to have the most options. And it doesn't matter if we're in a bull market or a bear market or recession, the best, usually, the top people that are going to add the most value to your organization are always going to have the most options in any market condition. So you should always optimize for employee experience, and to the extent possible, pay as people as much as you can, give them as much flexibility as you can, find a way for them to get the most out of life. And if you can facilitate that better than your competitors, you're going to land the best people. And that's ultimately going to increase the value of your organization and help you scale. So I think it's just optimizing toward employee experience. And that's coming down to having real conversations with candidates and employees about what they want. What do they want to get out of this? What do they care about? What are their values, right? And you don't have to appeal to the whole market. You just have to appeal to a segment of the market, right? It's not like you have to be everything to everyone, but you have to say, okay, this is the type of skill set or a professional experience background that seems to be successful here. Let's optimize toward this segment of the market. What do people what are they typically looking for? In terms of if they have the experience required, what are these individuals that are usually a good fit for us? What are they looking for? What are the commonalities, and how do we optimize for that? So that's the one piece. The other piece I would say is invest in content and assets for candidates considering your business. Like, a lot of companies are not very good at that. Like, their careers page usually isn't very good. They haven't put up together a lot of video content answering FAQs from employees in scale positions. So, for instance, if you have to hire 100 engineers, you should have like 20 videos on your careers page going through answering FAQs for, different questions that engineers have, right?
Yeah, right.
Like, nobody wants to see the quote. You want to see the quote from the CEO, but of course the CEO is going to be biased and think the company is like the best thing ever, right? So you want employees to be part of that conversation and producing really high quality content. Like you could do kind of like an ebook or kind of a pamphlet or something, just reviewing the culture. You do the video content. You invest in Glassdoor campaigns, so there's a lot of reviews there for people to reference, right? And all of those things, kind of, I look at a careers page as almost like a proposal. right? It's a proposal you're putting together for top talent.
Uh-huh.
It also proves that you're a people first organization.
Right.
Like if someone's not going to produce assets for candidates, they're expecting people to walk in blind. And people are also going to get to a certain point in their career. If they have enough experience and if they're good enough at what they do, they're not going to walk in blind. They have the most options. They're going to go with a company where they really see the vision. They've been told a story that makes sense. The employer's version of the future seems logical and something that, is likely to happen. And they feel confident. And the best way to help people feel confident is to produce a lot of great assets for them. And then again, have employment packages that they want, right? That are really compelling. So I think those are the two pieces that work together, and the companies that are winning generally do those things very well. And I would even argue that beyond having incredible products and solutions, the companies that are actually going to really develop the incredible products are going to have the best fit people on their team at the startup and growth stage phase. So they need to invest in this early, and most companies should invest in it earlier than they do, because that foundational team of 20, 30, 50, 100 people that you have working for you are going to significantly impact the trajectory of your company. So right. You really got to invest in those things early on, in my opinion.
Okay, no, I totally get it. And I think that'll go into, branding for companies. When you are explaining this, you talk about what organizations need to do, to retain talent and, make their employees happy. You share that career page ideas. And I've never thought about that, maybe getting one of the employees to speak about the company, rather than the CEO having a quote or something like that. So that goes into branding, in my opinion. And when we think about branding, maybe Apple, when you hear Apple, they make quality products. When you hear Walmart, for example, you say, they sell cheap products. So I want to ask you if you can share some insight into why branding is important and how companies can build a solid and reputable brand.
Well, I think so branding is incredibly important, not necessarily when you're initially starting a company. Like the most important thing when you're initially starting is get revenue in. Right?
Oh yeah.
There's nothing to brand, right? If you have no revenue, you have nothing. Cash flow is king, right? Mm-hmm. So that's one. But if you want to be a category leader, then branding matters, right? I mean, the quality of the experiences that everybody has interacting with your business. Mm-hmm. So first and foremost, that's the first step in branding. It's not even like necessarily your website. It's your customers. Have you optimized the customer journey to remove friction and create great experiences, from prospecting to closing to onboarding to maintenance to even offboarding, right? In certain cases, like, what does that experience look like? And have you really obsessed on that to create the best possible experience? Best companies don't end there, though. They're optimizing for the employee journey and creating great experiences for them. They're also doing that for vendors. Mm-hmm. Ideally, everyone that's associated with your company is going to have a good experience. And you got to think about, what is the entire ecosystem, right? The entire ecosystem for our business. And if we optimized for experience across the board. So that's the first, because if you do that, referrals, word of mouth, that stuff's going to start to skyrocket just by creating great experiences. Then it comes about, okay, we need to start to get ourselves out there, and people just, look, like if you have a clean logo and a clean UI on your website and you look professional, like nobody's going to assume the best company in the category is going to look very well put together. Right. Mm-hmm. So if a company doesn't have that, they're going to either show up as a mom and pop, or they're going to show up as a second tier, or they might look like a low cost provider. Salesforce isn't going to show up with poor branding or something like that, or the top companies in their categories are not going to show up without being cleaned up. You could say a long time ago, there was a greater emphasis on people wearing, suits and showing up that way. Right now it's about like branding. It's like about, the quality of the experience that people have when they go on your website, the type of content that you're producing. that's a big part of a brand and scaling word of mouth and referral. It's like, can you create valuable content and share it with the community? Key companies do that. Do they have some kind of subject matter expert that can speak on industry topics and go out there, do podcasts, right? Write content for LinkedIn, and provide value. That's another important way to do branding, because a lot of companies scale through referral and word of mouth.
Right.
And the only ways to scale referral and word of mouth is to create, the primary ways, create great experiences for people and produce really valuable content. Mm-hmm. Right? Like those are the two primary ways to scale those kind of lead sources, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So your company, SecureVision, specializes in building talent acquisition solution, right? Let's say a company out there is looking to hire a recruiter so that they can help them build their talent. Why should they go with SecureVision? What sets your company apart, James, if you don't mind?
A lot of the traditional RPO providers, again, like just that means recruitment process outsourcing, but basically like companies where you can borrow recruiters from, or RPOs, right? You can borrow a team of recruiters from us. That's our kind of value add. You don't have to hire the internal headcount. Much better quality and cost per hire than what you're going to find from contingent agencies, traditional recruiting agencies. So we kind of sit in the middle of the in-house and contingent and provide hopefully the best of both worlds. In terms of differentiators, one of the clear thing for traditional providers in our space, they usually pay pretty low base salaries to their employees. They're pretty top heavy in terms of management, these types of things, overhead. We've done a pretty good job of staying lean. We focus most of our expenses, it goes to payroll for our talent advisors, our recruiters. So, a lot of times recruiters are going to come to work for SecureVision and they're almost going to double their salary. The other thing that we don't do is we don't provide commissions to employees on a per hire basis. And the reason that that's important is that it removes any type of a conflict of interest. So if you have a recruiter at an agency that has a really low base salary and high commissions, they're not necessarily focused on quality of hire. They're focused on pushing across a hire as fast as they can at any of all costs. And even if it's not the right fit, the goal is velocity at all costs. It's not quality. So in our model, it's, you're getting velocity, but because we have to move faster, you're not going to continue. But the difference being is that you're getting quality, right? Because we're not going to just, if we don't get you quality, you're not going to retain us either. It's a better model in terms of aligning incentives is one way to look at it. So I would say we pay our people much better. So companies typically will leave other RPOs and agencies and come work for us. We max our recruiter capacity, so they're not working on more than 6 to 8 openings at a time. We give our people 4 weeks PTO. We have a minimum PTO policy. They get all federal holidays off. They get 1 recharge day per month. We pay 100% of their health insurance. So there's a lot of things that we do to create great experiences for our employees, and that translates into great experiences for our clients.
That's awesome. I like what you just said in terms of benefit to your employees. Now, you've been leading this company, SecureVision, since 2015. I know, just like every entrepreneur, there are mistakes that they've made along the line. So what is that one mistake that you've made in your business, and maybe what lesson did you learn from it?
So there's a couple key things. One, there was a significant impact on the business when we moved from a model where we were paying people a low base salary with high commissions, and we moved to a model in which people are at high base salaries.
Good.
So that was probably one of the biggest improvements that significantly impacted the quality of the solution we could provide to our clients.
Right.
So that was something that we struggled with at first. I mean, the first few years in business, we weren't really able to attract the best talent on the market just due to our model, right?
Okay.
The other big mistake that we made at first was not having a recurring revenue model. So we started out on the contingent side, fee-based. So everything was project. So every month your expenses do not start at zero, right? You have whatever overhead you have for the company, but your revenue starts at zero.
Right.
And that's a very frustrating business model to scale.
Yeah.
It's also impossible to do fundraising rounds. Nobody wants to invest in that type of business, right?
Right.
So switching over to recurring revenue is critical if you really want to become a scale organization as well. So I'd say those are two of the biggest lessons learned. Pay people really well, be generous, pay them as much as you can. You're not going to be disappointed. You're going to get, top tier talent on your team. Do that and find a way, whatever industry you're in, find a way to do it on a recurring basis.
And obviously, James, you guys are doing a fantastic job. You've grown to, you said 35 people working for you. That's a big accomplishment. I wish you continual success as you continue to grow and expand your business. So on a final note, let's say there are job seekers out there that are in the audience, listening to us. What is one thing you would like them to know, maybe about their prospects in this job market, or how they should present themselves as they continue to look for that dream job?
Yeah, take it into your own hands. So invest in relationships. The other aspect is don't wait. Don't remember, you don't have to necessarily follow a process. So if a company has an application process, I'm not saying don't apply, but don't limit yourself. Reach out to the hiring managers, the hiring team on LinkedIn. Try to develop the relationships on the side, get engaged, follow their content, comment on it. Right? A lot of people are going to apply to jobs, right? So you have to find a way to stick out, and remember that a process is not something that's written in stone. It's not part of the natural world. It's just, some people got together for a Zoom meeting one day and said, okay, we're going to just do it this way and see how it goes. Right.
Right.
So it's not locked in. So if the process isn't working for you, break it. Build your own, try things, experiment, reach out to people, and take it into your own hands and try to create real relationships and connections with individuals. And that's going to serve you really well. You don't want to just kind of apply and just hope that somebody gets back to you. You really want to try to take it into your own hands and try to develop relationships with your target companies. Maybe select 10 organizations that you would love to work for and proactively try to build relationships with leadership members on those teams.
And on that note, we are ending today's episode. Thank you very much, James. I like the way you ended. If something is not working, change it. You don't have to necessarily believe that you are constrained by process. You say reach out, make relationship, and that's how build your network, and that's how you can win in this job market. Thank you very much, James. It's been a wonderful time with you today, and I have benefited from listening to you today, and I know my audience, they will find this useful as well. Thank you, James.
Thank you. It's been a ton of fun.
All right.